I do feel quite honoured to talk, actually. I do hold the Royal Society very close to my heart, I think. They gave me a honorary fellowship, as Michael quite rightly said, a few years ago. And I didn't walk away from the society like a lot of photographers have after receiving their gongs or whatever. I've actually sort of stayed around, in a sense, and always happy to help or to do something for the society, if ever asked. So I'm here today. I was born 20 miles up the road, maybe a little further. As quite rightly Peter said, it was the Black Country. I do look at it as a walled city. My mum and dad never went to Birmingham. I think my mum went to Birmingham to give birth to me because I was a cesarean baby and she had to go to a hospital to have me, obviously. So I was born in Birmingham. But I was brought up in the Black Country. And by miracle after miracle after miracle, I ended up doing photography. And I'm really happy to have done it, and I've had to adopt and adapt. Photography has gone through great changes over recent times. As you know, digital photography has come on board over the last decade, big time. And I was fortunate enough to have a mathematical mind and a scientific mind, and I could adapt to the digitalization of photography quite readily. I was one of the lucky ones, and not just artistic and like couldn't get anything together type of person. But so I have adapted. I've not only adapted to the new technology in photography, I've had to stay. I'm a professional photographer. I actually do work. I actually do jobs. I've had to generate a market for myself. You know, I've had to generate means to earn a living as a photographer. And as some of you who know my career probably realize, I started in industry, in business, magazines and things like that. And that has actually, as a source of income for me, has really helped me to develop a new way of producing work and getting paid for it, i.e. the book, the exhibition. Essentially, I've developed a world in corporate photography, which I don't think other photographers really thought about or really considered. Done major projects like my Broadgate in the 80s and my St Pancras in the noughties, whatever they call it. And my Olympics, of course, and then I've been working on Marseille Provence recently, the capital city of culture. I'm looked at as someone who can deliver a series, a body of work. He doesn't want to be told what to do. I just get told, go out and do a body of work. I do it, and it ends up as an exhibition in a book. I've adapted to the modern world of photography. I produce most of it myself. I organize it all myself. And even when it comes to places like this, focus on imaging, I always came to focus on imaging because I knew I could possibly get some help. I get paid for my work, but also I need help from camera manufacturers, lighting manufacturers, camera suppliers, distributors. And over the years coming here, I've helped to get sponsorship for my projects, both the equipment I use and also financial help. And focus has been brilliant for me. When I'm going to take you through this recent project, because I've just got half an hour to quickly say something. And this was really a personal project. I had to generate the money for it. I had to find the money. I had to knock on doors and gather money to do it. And then the suppliers that are out there in the rooms back here helped me. The Flash Center are now presently a great help and great assistance to me. Leica came on board. Labs came on board and helped me to do this project. It was impossible. The credit crunch happened a year or so ago. And it meant that there was no money to do things like this. I was initially invited to do this project by actually a chapel in Paris. A chapel in Paris invited me to do it. And they told me how much money they got for me to do this work. And then 3 months later, it like disappeared. And I had to, as a humble 50, 60-year-old man, had to go like knocking on doors. At 23, it's like, you don't mind knocking on doors, but when you're like quite well known and excuse me, you know, with a, like Oliver Twist really, can I have some money? But anyway, this project started from the fact that I had big exhibitions down in the Rencontre on my St Pancras and my water people. And I was invited, they wanted to collaborate with me. And it was the first time I'd really done a big major project on my own, about myself. So this project involves great help from Leica. It was all shot on the Leica S2, all the modern stuff. From the big prints, where kindly I was assisted by Metro in London, and the lights by Ellincrom and Broncolor and Johnson's Photopia, who are great sponsors as well. So in other words, the modern life of the professional photographer who just wants to do his own work without being told what to do is, i.e., you've got to find the money yourself, you've got to organize it all yourself, and in order to get really high quality images, the best possibly that you can obtain at this moment in time, you've got to find the sponsors to actually give you the equipment to shoot it on. You can't spend £300 a day hiring a 60-odd megapixel camera or a 30-odd megapixel camera. They have to lend you one or give you one. You can't afford like arrays of lights, you know, you have to say, please, can you help me with the lights? You can't afford prints 8 foot by 6 foot, whatever. Can you print this up for me, please? This really is a different ball game. And then out of all that money, you get enough to live during the period of the project. This project was a year. So I had to finance myself to live a year and finance the whole project. So I was born in the Black Country. And these people at the Collège des Bernardins in Paris said, well, what would you like to do? We offer you this beautiful chapel. What would you like to photograph? I said, I would like to photograph the Black Country where I grew up in the 50s and 60s. And they said, oh, that's great. We really like the sound, the Black Country. Oh, right. Yeah, okay. And I walked out of that chapel thinking, why did I say that? I've never photographed home. I've never taken any pictures around my home. Why did I say that? I find it really difficult to photograph near to my heart or near to my family. And I started it. I started doing it. And but I needed my mum and dad, you know, like in this project, because they were my family. I grew up, they were my mum and my dad. I was an only child, but they were both dead. What can I do about my mother and father? So these people in Paris said, we love what you do with workers. We love your workers' pictures, you know, and what you've been doing. They like my St Pancras particularly, and they like my water people that I did in Iceland. They saw it down in Arles, 2 really big shows, which now sit in the Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery, down in the storage room. So it sits in Birmingham, because this talk is about Birmingham, so the worker. And I mean, I can't believe this is where I grew up. This is a shot outside my bedroom, my mum and dad's bedroom. I mean, places don't exist like this, do they? But I was actually alive and I actually lived here. The Black Country in the 50s. There's a street called Church Street. I grew up in a town called Lye. So this is the world that made me, you know, the childhood that gave me my vision, really. And there I am. Yeah, really smart little boy next to Maureen Payne, Georgie Pardo, and Yvonne Bloomer. Georgie was unfortunately crushed between 2 trucks and ended up a pancake, unfortunately, Georgie. But the first time I experienced Georgie was when he put his cat in the frying pan. This is the Black Country in the 50s, you know, the cat in the frying pan. And I end up in Birmingham with, I think some people might know this man, head of the council. There's is he the Minister of Education? I don't know what he is, a minister anyway. He felt like a BMW salesman to me. And there was me. This is Birmingham giving me a great send-off or whatever in 2010, my outdoor retrospective of my portraiture. And this just substantiates what I think, that Birmingham is going to be really on the map soon. There's a new library being built there. I'm doing a big project for the new library of Birmingham alongside other photographers. Birmingham, eventually, within 10 years, will be one of the great centres in the world of photography. The world, I think, if certain plans come to fruition. I'm not talking about the Midlands. I'm not talking about the UK. I'm talking about the world. And I just hope it really does happen. So I'm going to describe my childhood and what it was like. And there's the picture here. So I wrote a book. I wrote a book for this exhibition. And I wrote it really personal and really emotional and really honest stuff. It's very, very like stuff that you would never reveal to the public. I decided to reveal it all, like what I felt about my mother, what I felt about my dad, what I felt about the children and my playmates, what I felt about my town. But, you know, even little simple things like, here's my mother before I was born with her dog, and when Mum went into hospital in Birmingham to have me, the dog died of a broken heart.